So my name is Angela Columbano, and I'm head of business development and partnership at Genethon. And we're going to spend the next few minutes sharing this very, very unique organization in the field of gene therapy. So Genethon was created just over 30 years ago by the French Patient Association of Muscular Dystrophies, the AFM Téléthon. This is really a unique institution in France, and through one fund-raising event called the Téléthon at the end of each year, is able to collect between 75 and 85 million a year. This year was 85. Part of this fund is dedicated to build an infrastructure to support patients and family of patients in France, but a large part has been used over the years to invest in research of innovative approach for rare disease, especially muscular dystrophies. And Genethon was one of the laboratories created by the AFM Téléthon specialized in gene therapy. So a few key facts about Genethon. So we are a non-for-profit organization, which I think is quite unique in a challenging field like gene therapy. So we have a fully integrated research and development organization. I'm going to tell you a little bit more in the next few slides. We have started in 1990. We have started first with a genome mapping. It was the first genome mapping that was published in Nature in the early 90s, and then moved very rapidly to gene therapy, both research and manufacturing. We're one of the first to invest in manufacture of gene therapy and understand that this was going to be a bottleneck, especially for systemic disease. So we have a track record of partnership and collaboration. So we are non-profit. We have some financing from the AFM Téléthon, but otherwise, most of our financing comes from business development activity, licensing, partnership, collaboration. And we have a high number of clinical trials that we've been involved on, and there's about 7 programs that are supposed to come to the clinics in the next year or so. The total size of the organization is just over 200 people. So Genethon has always been an innovation engine that has built a very strong network of partnerships. Both on the research side, we've been working with most of the leading worldwide academic organization in Europe as well as in the US. And then, as I mentioned, we have a track record of partnership, collaboration, and licensing. So we have licensed patent to Novartis for Zolgensma, which is it's an interesting, obviously, way to finance in our research. We have also the Astellas program in MTM was started at Genethon. We have worked with GeneSight on Lumevoq. We have licensed the Pompe program to Sparta. It's just started the clinic about a year ago. We have a collaboration on CGD with Orchard, and this is one of the most important for us, being the organization created by the Muscular Dystrophy Association. We have a program in the clinic in DMD, in Duchenne, that is in collaboration with Sarepta. So, Genethon is research and development, fully integrated. The research team is actually a mixed organization of Genethon plus a unit of INSERM. INSERM is the equivalent of NIH in France. And so they work hand to hand, and this biotech meets academic in a daily basis, create a very interesting place for innovation. We also have about 40 people that work on CMC, both process development and innovation in process development. So we are able to, in our pilot plant, to scale up to 200 liters. So everything that is CMC, it's done in-house. We have also a team of clinical and regulatory experts to manage our clinical trials. Right, so this is the research team. With kind of 4 pillars. We have 2 teams that are dedicated to neuromuscular disease and to dystrophies. We have an immunoblood disorder team, and we have a liver metabolic disorder team with the gene editing as well. And all the team leaders that you see here, they are all academic, but they work at Genethon. So the pipeline. So muscular dystrophy, neuromuscular disease is obviously an important space for Genethon. So as I mentioned earlier, the Audentes program in MTM is coming from Genethon, and it's been taken over by Audentes and then Astellas more recently. We have a microdystrophin program in Duchenne that is in the clinic since a year ago, and this is a collaboration with Sarepta. And then we have a number of assets in limb-girdle muscular dystrophies, different mutation on LGMDs. They're going to currently be spin off into a new company called Atamio. And so the Atamio can be fully dedicated to LGMDs and able to raise funds through venture capital, something that Genethon alone cannot do. And then we have another number of programs that are with Genethon, and we have an active partner in discussion. So one in acid ceramidase deficiency, another approach in Duchenne. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that in the next few slides. So I'm going to start by one of the LGMDs. It's probably one of the most interesting, if anything, because of the size of the population. It's about 9,000 patients, both in the US and in Europe. And for this disease, we have an innovative approach because we are using a novel capsid that's proprietary of Genethon with a high tropism in the muscle, which is obviously the challenge when you are dealing with a neuromuscular disease, to try to optimize your construct, your dose, to increase the tropism in the muscle and decrease, for example, in the liver. And we also have inserted a certain element of the constructs that enable to detarget the heart. And the interesting, that is always important in gene therapy, also aspect of this construct is just going through process development up to 200 liters at the moment, and the yield is extremely high. So we are anticipating a reasonably low manufacturing cost, which again is key in neuromuscular disease when you have to generally have quite high dose. So the same capsid, the same proprietary capsid is being used in a second approach that we are developing in-house in Duchenne. So this is a dual vector approach with this innovative new capsid, and it allows to have a longer construct for, so dystrophin is too large to fit the AAV. So all the programs that are in the clinic today are all microdystrophin, so they're just one relatively small fragment of the original protein. The dual approach enables we call it quasi-dystrophin, longer, with additional elements that you cannot find in the microdystrophin, such as, which should impact important aspects of the biology, such as the satellite cell and enos. So we hope the functionality will be much better than the microdystrophin. We are currently in clinical development with this asset. And then the last one I wanted to discuss with you in neuromuscular disease is a program that is impacting the mutation of the acid ceramidase, which is an enzyme, that according to the type of mutation, you have different type of pathophysiology. Farber disease is a disease for which the children don't survive beyond 2 years old. And SMA-PME is an important component of epilepsy, and children don't survive beyond adolescence. There's no treatments. And for this program, we have used an AV9 approach, and we have tried to really cut down as much as possible the development timeline. So we started the whole program in 2020, and we are hoping to go to the clinic next year. It's an ultra-rare disease, and this obviously an incidence of less than 1 in a million, and this obviously creates a number of hurdles for the business, the economics behind this program. And we think that with our organization, Genethon is really well positioned to try to tackle the problem of ultra-rare disease and find a therapeutic solution, especially when there's absolutely no other therapeutic solution available. So we also have a program, a number of assets in the liver. These were the team was led by Federico Mingozzi before he joined Spark, and today is led by Giuseppe Ronziti. Krieger and Ajar is in the clinic, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. And then we have another series of metabolic assets, which we're taking this portfolio, beside the Pompe one that's been licensed to Spark, we're taking this portfolio in a second spin-off called Flamingo. There's also raising a fund through venture capital. So Krieger is interesting. So it's a story that's 100% Genethon. It was initiated, the program was initiated, we did all the preclinical, we created a European consortium to lead the clinical research, and today we are hopefully starting the pivotal trial in the next few months. So it's a single mutation, the gene UGT 1A1, and that leads to very high level of unconjugated bilirubin, which is toxic. There is no therapy today. The only way for the patient to survive is either liver transplant, with all the consequences of liver transplant, or a daily dose of phototherapy. And when I mean daily dose, it's several hours a day that the patient has to stay under the lamp, under the phototherapy, which obviously affect quite significantly the quality of life. And in any case, after a certain period of time, phototherapy doesn't really work anymore. So we have an Aviate construct. I'm not going to spend too much time on the design, but we have tried 2 doses. And this the second dose that is today, they had very encouraging results. So here you have 5 patients treated so far. The very first 2 lines, the blue and the green, were at the lower dose, and they didn't manage to, one came off from phototherapy, but then had to start again, and the first never managed to stop phototherapy. Then we increased the dose, and then you have the last 3 curves. And those patients, so this was data collected in October last year. Those patients today are all off phototherapy, and one has been for over a year, and the second is approaching this important deadline. So the dose seems to work, and we are hoping to get to pivotal as I said, over the summer this year. So. So just a few words. Partnering is everything for Genethon. It's the way we can continue to finance our research and our clinical studies. So obviously we have a very open and flexible approach. There can be collaboration on early stage in therapy, on technology platforms. So we are working on novel capsid, novel promoters with a certain tropism, depending on the type of disease, for the CNS or for the muscle or for the liver. And so, as I said, in the last couple of years, we have started to take portfolio of assets and bring them in separate entities to enable them to raise fresh capital from the VC and then from the market. So Atamio is one, and Flamingo is the second. So we have, this is not the first time we have created spin-off. Genethon has already created 2 spin-off. One is GenoSave. It's a CRO for quality control in cell and gene therapy. It's very successful and very dynamic growth at the moment. And the second is Hyposcase. Hyposcase is a leading CDMO for gene therapy. And it's been SK, South Korean conglomerate, acquired the majority stake on Hyposcase last year, and is today in full expansion with the doubling of the surface of the manufacturing surface and increased scale to 1,000 liters. So it's one of the leading CDMO for gene therapy in Europe, and it was originally a Genethon bioproduction site. And then we have Atamio, as I said, that is fully dedicated to limb-girdle muscular dystrophies. So the last few seconds, just to tell you what are the next challenges and the next opportunity for Genethon. Working in neuromuscular disease and in dystrophies means that we have to work on increasing efficacy and decreasing the dose through optimizing the constructs, finding new capsid and new promoters. Immunoresponse is another big area of research for Genethon, so try to find ways to overcome immunoresponse or treat seropositive patients. And improve the bioproduction is the third important challenge, to be able to decrease manufacturing cost. And then finally, last but not least, maybe the most important is how can we expand the number of indications to treat more patients, especially those with ultra-rare disease where there is no therapeutic solution and where business models are today challenging. So that was it. Thank you very much for your attention.